Hello friends, welcome to That VidBlaster Guy. I'm Tom Sinclair and I'm the host of the show, and I appreciate folks that have already joined into the chat. If you haven't figured out about the chat, there's a little arrow to the right of the screen that will bring up, first of all, information about the show, and then if you click on the chat at the top right hand corner, it'll bring up the chat and it'll kind of stay out there to the side. And you can chat with each other and let me know when I make a mistake. But try to keep that to a minimum. Really appreciate y'all tuning in this afternoon. Just will mention now that we're going to rebroadcast this pretty much right after the show is completed onto Bamboozer. So if you missed something and you want to come back and get it, we'll be rebroadcasting it again on Bamboozer, and then it will be available in their archives right after that. So delighted to be here and have you with me. Wanted to tell you how I got started with VidBlaster and with webcasting, and it's really kind of an interesting story. Several years ago, a friend asked me, I was helping him with a website for a soccer tournament, and I had been doing that for a couple of years, and so he figured I was, Mr. Computer Guru, and said, well, can you figure out a way to let the folks that can't come to the soccer tournament watch the soccer tournament on the internet on the website? And I said, oh, sure, I can do that, no problem. Well, I didn't have a clue what I was talking about, but I figured there had to be a way to do that. And this is probably 2006, 2007, something like that. And I searched around the internet for everything I could find, and back then there wasn't a whole lot of information out there. And finally came upon a website, boy, I wish I could remember what it was, and they would allow you to link your webcam to a little teeny broadcast script that they had, and they would broadcast whatever you had on your webcam, the webcam audio and the webcam video, on a little teeny thing about maybe that big on this screen right here. Maybe it was that big. I mean, it was just big enough to see little ants running around. But we did it, and we put it online, and the folks, we had several soccer teams. I'm in Alabama on the Gulf Coast, and we had several soccer teams from Oklahoma bus in for the tournament, and of course not everybody can come, and the folks back home in Oklahoma were thrilled. They couldn't see anything except little ants running around, but they could hear the background noise, and we would take a clipboard with paper and write the score on that and put it in front of the webcam, and when it was halftime, we'd pull the page back where we had already written halftime and put that in front of the camera. And at one point, I think on the second day of the tournament, we started getting pretty fancy, and we actually started talking out loud to let people know which team was which color, little basic things like that. And that was my, of course the coup de grace of all this is the little low resolution webcam we had duct taped to a tripod because there was no other way to attach it to the tripod, and we would just turn the tripod back and forth. There was no zooming or anything like that. Instant replay, of course. I mean, wow, no way. But at that point I was hooked, and of course the reviews that came back from Oklahoma were wonderful. Golly gee, if we felt like we were there. Well, they were blind then, but nevertheless it was a lot of fun to get that great feedback. And that began my search for software that I would have on my end, and then places out there, we call them CDNs now, content delivery networks, that would have the ability to take what I had and broadcast it. And it probably, if that was 2007, it was probably 2 years later. Well, maybe that was 2008. I'll have to go back and check. But anyway, I know it was February of 2009 when I discovered VidBlaster. And it was very much by accident, but it was, probably my 50th Google search that I went out trying to find it. And the key was, what's the right question to ask? In order to get the answer, you got to get the right question. And so, what was it called back then? Internet broadcasting? No. web broadcasting, web streaming, webcasting, web, whatever. But I couldn't come on the right terms. And I'm not a broadcaster. I'm not a computer guru. I mean, everybody in my family thinks I am, but you've got family members like that. If you know how to use Windows Explorer, they think you're just marvelous. But I didn't know that much, but I was willing to give it a go and found VidBlaster, downloaded the trial. That was back at version 0.42. And there was still lots of bugs, and it was basic operation, but I used it a couple times and I was hooked. I mean, it was drag and drop. It was easy to figure out. It was intuitive. If I thought it should do something, most of the time it did what I thought. But I'm not coming from a broadcasting background. I'm just a computer user. But it was perfect for me. It was perfect for me. And I read the forum. Let's see, let me put up the graphic. Here's the link to the forum if you're not a VidBlaster person. You need to check out the forum and read through some of the posts. There are lots of great information in there, as well as lots of great stories of how people got into internet broadcasting and what they're doing now, and the equipment they're using, and the kinds of venues that they're going, and how they're making money at it or not making money at it. Anyway, there's lots of great stuff on the forum. And after a while of posting on the forum, the developer of VidBlaster, Mike Versteeg, who lives in the Netherlands, sent me an email, a text, and said, would you like to be a moderator on the forum? Well, I didn't feel like I knew squat, but I didn't mind jumping out there and giving it a try. So I told him I'd do that. And after moderating for a while, he didn't ask me, he just did it. He appointed me as a VidBlaster professional, what he called an MVP, which meant, number one, for me, the big bonus was I got a copy of whatever he was doing gratis. But moreover, I had an official responsibility to really go out and help folks. Simultaneous to that, I became a VidBlaster reseller. So, full disclosure on this show, part of the reason for bringing this show out is so that folks will discover more about VidBlaster and hopefully buy the VidBlaster product from me. If you haven't seen it already, there's a link on the page right up there somewhere that says store. And right now it's linked to the store of Sinclair Sports Network, which of course is me too. And we'll have that updated as time goes on. But the real idea for this show, and I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, the real idea for this show was to say one person with one PC can do a really pretty cool broadcast. The explosion in the last year, 18 months of internet broadcasting has really been exciting, especially for folks that, like me, that kind of stumbled onto it before the explosion happened. And there are all sorts of great shows out there about internet broadcasting, as well as scads of shows of folks that are just doing what their passion is and using internet broadcasting as a way to get the word out. But I've benefited from watching so many of those shows. But a lot of times those folks are I won't say overthinking it, but they're making it more complex than the novice or the new user can really hope to grasp. And if the pocketbook is not fat, maybe you can't go out and spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on all this equipment and multiple PCs and multiple monitors and all this stuff. For folks that have known me for a while, I'm Mr. Cheap. If I can do it for $20 off of eBay, I'm going to give it a try rather than spend $250 on it retail and figure, it's worth my $20. And it really has worked for me. A cute little side story, and I've got a great interview that I want to get to here in a second, but I really do need to tell you this side story because this is what provided for me the opportunity to do all this stuff. About 2009, right when I discovered VidBlaster, I was looking for microphones. I figured, you're going to have video, you got to have a microphone, a little audio is not important, but I figured sooner or later somebody has to hear what you're saying. And so I was looking on eBay for microphones and using every search criteria I could think of, and stumbled upon a guy in South Carolina or Tennessee or somewhere kind of in the north-south that had purchased a box, a case of microphones that were seconds. They were blems or whatever. There was an appearance problem with them, but functionally they were fine. And he would sell a case of 60 of these microphones for $100, $150. And he named the mic, and I went online and found out what the mic was, and it was retailing for $29.99. And it didn't take a genius to figure out if you could buy a case of these mics at the right price, you turn around and sell them, you could make a tidy little profit. Let me shorten this story to say that I bought 6 or 7 cases of those microphones, and over a period of several months, and realized that they had not 60 in each box, but closer to 90 or 95. In fact, one box had 100, and I made enough money to jumpstart my video addiction and get started with internet broadcasting. And so would encourage anybody that's thinking about getting into it, look out there, be creative. Obviously, your other half, your better half, may not open their checkbook and let you spend all her grocery money on webcams. But if you can find a way to fund it, even if it's buying something for 20 and selling it for 30 and getting started building that PayPal account, that really was the key for me. And I'm looking at the chat room here, trying to keep up with what these guys are saying, what you guys are saying, excuse me. Anyway, that's the quick story on that. For those that are just brand new to VidBlaster, there are 4 editions, each one more powerful than the one below it. There's the Home Edition, the Pro Edition, the Studio, and then the Broadcast. And if you go to the forum and go to the download section of the forum, you can download the latest beta of the Studio version, which is the next to highest version, and play with it, and it's free. There'll be a little logo in the top right-hand corner of the screen, but other than that, it's fully functional. It's not crippled in any way, so it's a great way to test it and see if it's something that you like, see if it works with your PC, those kind of things. I will say that the way software is getting, software always outpaces hardware. You want to get the fastest, biggest, baddest computer that you can afford, i7 and beyond. So that's the story on that. Let's see, I got notes here. I want to make sure. Oh yeah. I want to tell you, this is the alpha show, and the alpha show is the one that's kind of limited invitation. I only invited people that I thought would be nice to me. Not really true. I want you to tell the truth, but we needed to kind of work the bugs out in the show, and what better way to do it than to do it live. And so we're going to do a couple of alpha shows, and then we'll do a couple of beta shows, and then we'll kind of open it up to the whole wide world and double our audience from 12 to 24 or whatever it is. You know how that goes. So this is alpha show number 1, and we'll have alpha show number 2 next week. For the most part, we're going to stick with 3 major themes. The themes will be based on typical usage. And this is based on the sales that I've had as a VidBlaster reseller to folks that are using VidBlaster in the real world. And they are doing talk shows, number 1, like this show, and like the theme of this first show is talk shows. There's a huge number of folks that are using VidBlaster and other similar products to stream their church services. So we're going to have themed shows on church services. And then there's a huge audience of folks that are streaming and watching sporting events over the internet using VidBlaster and other products. So sporting events will be sort of our 3rd theme, and we'll probably add other themes as they come out, and may have shows that are focused in just on one particular aspect of one of those themes as well. And with each show, I hope to have a guest in that field to come in and talk about what they're doing And obviously, the more we do it, the deeper we get into it. Let's see, what else have we got here? Well, one of the first customers that I had with VidBlaster was a gentleman in North Carolina named Amnon Nissan. And when he sent me an email, and his name was Amnon Nissan, I had no clue. I imagined somebody from Japan. I mean, Nissan is the only, automaker that I know of, Japanese. And so I really didn't have a clue anything about this guy. And then we talked on the phone, and it was definitely not a Japanese accent. And ultimately, he ended up buying, I think, the home version of VidBlaster. And we spent a lot of time together, both over the phone and over email, kind of helping him getting dialed in. And that was just a ton of fun. Well, it turns out that Amnon is a genius in a lot of ways, and probably one of the most humble geniuses that I've ever met. He just doesn't mind trying things just for the heck of it. And so come to find out, he's doing this really cool computer tech show on Sunday mornings for about 6 hours every Sunday. He and a bunch of other old gray-haired or bald-headed guys get around and talk tech like they know what they're talking about. And so I wanted to invite Amnon on as my very first guest. Now, this is an alpha show, so we're not pulling out all the plugs yet. I don't have him on live, but we did do an interview yesterday, and I want to play it for you right now. I'm with Amnon Nissan with Nissan Communications up in Raleigh, North Carolina. I say up because, of course, we're down here on the Gulf Coast of Alabama. Amnon, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Glad to have you. Having a great day down here in the South. And I appreciate you coming on this very first show. It's a new thing, obviously still bugs to work out, but it's just a treat to have you on. Thank you.
Pleasure is all mine.
Well, you're very gracious.
I can say it without hesitation that it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Right.
I don't know about that. But you have got a company, Nissan Communications.
That is my broadcasting thing. My company is Delta Force.
Oh, Delta Force. Okay, sorry, that's right. You're multi-talented. But tell me a little bit about Nissan Communications and what you guys do in the broadcasting end. I just want to sort of set the table for this.
I've been doing this radio show, the Computers Something, and the reason I'm saying something is because it was changing every year until we decided Computers 2K now for this year. I've been doing this show since 1993, and in the early 90s. We started actually when the web started, the station got on. This was on the radio now, and the station was doing streaming. I didn't know anything about it, but I was always recording the show and posting it for people to download later on. Or when iTunes started, we went with iTunes. In the late, I think it was 2009 or 2010, one of my co-hosts, Spence, said, "Why don't we go with video and everything?" I said, "Well, fine, go ahead and research it and we'll do it." So he came across Ustream, and we started doing Ustream from the studio. We couldn't put the camera in the production room where I was sitting doing all controlling the board. And so we took the shot through the glass window, and it's actually 3 pieces of glass in there. So it wasn't that great, but it worked. And we were actually on Ustream while we were on the air. Then the station changed hands and decided to cut us back to 1 hour. We were doing 2 hours. And what we did is we started by doing the hour in the beginning, and then 2 hours, and the second hour we would go in the studio itself where the guest and co-host were sitting, and we'll run it from there while the station was doing its automatic thing with the music. Then they decided that there is not enough listeners, and when I heard how many listeners, we said, you know what, let's just forget about this. And I built a studio at home. It's a room that adjacent to my office, which was like a storage room. Cleaned it out. Wife wasn't that happy, and built everything that I needed with the acoustical stuff on the walls and for chroma. I'm jumping a little ahead because while we were at the station, we were doing Ustream, but then Mike was telling me about VidBlaster. And we got VidBlaster and got it from you because it was somebody local. He told me, he said, there's a guy called Tom Sinclair, and if you have any questions, he can answer it too. So we talked and we got it. So then we started doing the show from here only on the internet, and it's been like that ever since. We started with 2 hours, we went for 3 hours, 4 hours, and we topped at 6 hours one time. But we these days we say from 9 until.
I think this past Sunday's show was somewhere between 3 to 3.5 hours.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't much because Mike had to leave and Spence had to leave, and my wife wanted me in the back there up front, and I said, okay, you know what? Let's do it one time according to what it says on the website, and we'll go from 9 to 12. So we did, and we went a little bit farther.
And this is the show Computers 2K Now.
Computers 2K Now. Once we started doing this, and we use it once a week, and I'm coming in here and there's a whole studio and nothing is happening, I said, well, you know, why don't we start doing some other shows? And I talked with a friend of mine who right away jumped on it and said, I want to do a show. And we started by doing the Breaking Free on Monday night, and it went great. Then another girl, Julie, heard about that and she said, can I do a show also? Sure. And we're doing Wednesday night because I want to leave Tuesdays and Thursdays for exercising at the Y. So I said, yeah, we can do it Monday and Wednesday. And then Debbie wanted to do one, and we're doing that Monday morning, Health In at 11. And we did a business show from 3 to 3:30, and it just didn't go very well. And Marilyn, who does the Breaking Free show, say, you know what? I'm a coach. Why don't you let me do another hour? So she starts on Monday night at 7 till 8, and 8 till 9. Two different shows. And at that point, it became Nissan Communications Network.
You had no choice. That's right.
Yeah, right. But it's fun. I love doing it.
What a great story. Well, all right, now you referred to somebody named Mike earlier. Were you talking about Mike McPhillips?
Mike Phillips.
Oh, Phillips. I thought it was Mac Phillips.
No, it's Mike Phillips.
Okay.
He goes at MC Phillips, that Mike C. Phillips.
Understood.
And his Twitter is at MC Phillips, so it's at McPhillips.
Okay. And he's the one that knew about VidBlaster.
He found out about VidBlaster. He's the one that talked me into it. We looked at Wirecast, and I couldn't figure it out, and still can't figure it out. Had Jody Max install it here, and it's I understand how to sort of use it, but forget it. We're not here to talk about that. But he found it, and it was amazing. I installed it, and I started using it. I mean, I had questions about how to do certain things, which you answered right away. But in general, I could have gone right away and do a show without having any kind of a learning curve. And this is what really, I mean, this is why I hate the way, never mind, let's not get negative here.
Right.
I love the way that VidBlaster is working for me now.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, look forward, pull out your crystal ball and look forward, and what do you see for Nissan Communications the next year or so? You going to do some political stuff this fall?
I'm not going to do any political stuff.
No politics.
I mean, if somebody wants to do a political show, I would have no problem. They can come in and they can do it, and I'll help. And I sit here with every show and run the board and do the switching. All they have to do is talk and gather the guests. So I would have no problem having another show or 2 or 3 or 4. Makes no difference. The more the merrier.
Well, the attendance that you get watching Computers 2K now, I think is astounding. I mean, you guys will have 4,000 or 5,000 people on a Sunday morning.
And I attribute this mainly when it started. Julie, who does Reawaken Your Brilliance, and Marilyn, who does the Breaking Free and the Scope of Things, are great networkers. And they're all over that social media, Facebook, Twitter, locally, and it started climbing. And then we got into it, and it went shooting up. Going and not rebroadcasting, but what do you say? Co-streaming? No, I streaming at the same time. What do you call it? While the show is going on one CDN, on one content delivery network,
right?
I also send it to Ustream. So we go Bamboozer and Ustream.
Okay.
And when I fired the other machine for Ustream, I can see the numbers going up. So it's just a matter of getting those drive-bys. And if you get 5,000 or 10,000 people, and the next week 20 of them come back and say, I don't think that all these 5,000 or 6,000 people every day actually sit there for the 4 hours or the 3 hours or maybe even half an hour. I don't know, because the statistics don't give you that. But if 10 of them, 20 of them, or whatever, come back the next week because they got something out of it, then I say I accomplished what I set out to do, is to educate people, because the show is for educating people.
Well, there's you, and then there's Mike Phillips.
Right.
And Spence
Shoemaker.
Spence Shoemaker, okay.
And Bruce Turner.
Bruce Turner. So the 4 of you guys.
Yeah. Now, Spence and me have been going at this since the late 90s. Mike joined us. He was filling in every now and then. But he joined us, I believe it was in 2008, 2009, 2010, somewhere there. And Bruce is after being introduced to VidBlaster and talking with him, because he's using it too. That's how that came about.
Well, I think the old phrase, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, has never been more false than with you guys.
Absolutely false.
That is a hoot. That is a hoot. Well, great stories.
VidBlaster made it easy. I think if I had to use anything else, I would still be testing things around. It made it very easy right off the bat. You didn't have to. It's almost like, oh, I know this program. I never put my hand on it.
Right.
And when, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's so intuitive. It is so easy to use. But unfortunately, it is a CPU hog. and we're having problems every now and then if I try to go to higher resolution, which is not necessary. Like everybody's talking about going to HD and all. No, I don't want people to see all the little imperfections in the face and all that.
Well, it's beginning to sound like an infomercial, which is not what I intended.
No, but I mean, I really want to get it out.
Gotcha.
So I did.
Cool. Very good. You got it off your chest. Well,
Yeah.
I hope you will come back on the show again in the future. It's a treat for me to sit down and have my Sunday morning coffee with you and Spence and Mike and Bruce and listen to you guys chat. It really is fun. And to know that VidBlaster is a part of that makes it even more special for me.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. I mean, I enjoy it. I look forward to that.
I can tell. I can tell. You guys, and folks watching this, you got to tune into this Computers 2K now. It's a bunch of gray-haired, old balding men, but they're talking about the latest technology as if they really know what they're talking about. It really is a lot of fun.
As if.
Yeah, that's right. As if. As if. Well, Amnon, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to come
Sure.
on, and I really appreciate it, and look forward to having you back on again in the future.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, what a great interview. He was very easy to interview and just so humble and gracious, and really a treat to hang out and chat with. One of the tricks, it's not really a trick, but one of the methods that I used during that interview was obviously it was done over Skype because I didn't tool on up to North Carolina to sit down and interview him. But I used a feature out of VidBlaster to capture the video, and probably a lot of you have already done this, but for those of you that haven't, there's a method that does that, and I prepared a little quick, and again, this is an alpha show. I wasn't real confident that everything was going to work right the first time, so I did take some time this morning and recorded some little screen capture videos, and want to run one of them right now because it talks about screen capture. I want to demonstrate how to capture a screen image from maybe a second monitor, if you were using a second monitor to have a Skype chat and you wanted to bring that caller into your VidBlaster session. What you see in front of you is the VidBlaster broadcast version, which is the version I use, and this is the default profile. The default profile is available in all the versions, and if you download VidBlaster from the VidBlaster website, the default profile is what pops up like this the very first time you use it. There are 7 modules visible here. The program module, which is our main screen that gets recorded or gets streamed. The audio module, right now I have not set a source for the audio. The streamer, bottom left-hand corner here is the camera. Next to that, the video overlay module, a player module, and another player module. For right now, we're going to focus on the camera module here in the bottom left-hand corner. First, I need to tell the camera module what source we want to use. So I'll click the drop-down menu here, and of all the different sources I've got, I want to select Screen Capture. Right now, it's capturing the top left-hand corner of my screen. In order to tell it specifically what I want to capture, I right-click. That brings up a little menu with several different options, but we're just going to look at the capture option right now. And I've got several different options in capture. I can select an area of any aspect ratio. I can select an area with a 1:1 aspect ratio. I can select an area with a 4:3 aspect ratio, a 16:9, or the full screen. Just for sake of example, let's select the full screen. And you can see now, in my Camera 1 module, this is everything that's on my screen. By clicking on the camera module, I can make whatever's in this camera module appear in the program module, and that'll be streamed and or recorded. But that's not what I want. I want my Skype video from the monitor Obviously, it's a second monitor that's off screen. So I'm going to right click again, scroll down to capture. I'm going to select 4:3 because that's the resolution that I've got currently in the default profile. Everything goes gray for a second, and I'm going to go off screen, and I'm going to select my subject in the Skype video. There she is. And she just happens to pop up in the program module because we've already clicked once on the program module previously. So I selected screen capture, right click, down to capture, select 4:3, went out and grabbed my image, and there it is. That's how you do a screen capture. And that's just video only. We'll talk more about Skype and audio in another tutorial. And that's screen capture. Sorry about the jiggle in that. It wasn't there when I previewed it earlier, and it appears to be something that happens between the time it leaves the player module, which is the video player module built into VidBlaster, and goes to the video out module. So I'll have to look at that some more. One of the other features that I used during the interview with Amnon was you notice the ability for the two of us to be on the screen at the same time. And of course you notice the PIP that I've got sitting up here, the picture-in-picture. And I want to show you how we did that. This is a demonstration of how to do a picture-in-picture or a side-by-side video. What you see in front of you is the default profile for VidBlaster, and we're going to maximize this. We're going to assume that you know a little bit about VidBlaster at this point, so we'll move along pretty quickly. I need to add a camera module, so I'm going to go to Modules, Camera, and there's a camera module right there. First off, I'm going to select myself, and that's in the Logitech HD Pro webcam module, and I'll put that up there in the program module where you can see it. It's just me in front of a green screen. And then in the Camera 2 module, I'm going to do a screen capture. We did a screen capture demonstration earlier, and we'll go to Capture, select Area 4:3. I'll swing over and use my Skype subject that I had before. And that's what she looks like. She's a lot prettier than I am. And I need to add another module. And we'll add a video effect module. And I'll drag it over here out of the way where we can see it. In this video effect module, I'm going to say I want to do a picture-in-picture. So we're going to select PIP fixed aspect ratio. But nothing happened. We have to tell it what cameras we want to use. So in this left-hand box, I'm going to put me. I'm in camera 1. And in the right-hand box, I'm going to put her. She's in camera 2. And then I'm going to take her PIP, picture-in-picture, and just drag it over here to the right. By clicking anywhere on the monitor, on the module, I can put her there. But let's say I don't really like that picture, and I want to make it larger. I can just drag the corner down, or drag it up, or if I want to crop it out and make it a different aspect ratio, I can just slide out to the sides and click and drop, and we'll just crop out as much as we can there. But we want her head to be about the same size as mine if she were talking, so we're going to move her about like that. Her background's a little busy, so obviously that wouldn't be a good shot here, but that's how we would do a picture-in-picture fixed aspect ratio. If we didn't choose fixed aspect ratio, she would get distorted as we cropped her and moved her around. Let's say that we want to be side by side. So instead of a PIP fixed aspect ratio, we're going to slide down here to split side by side. And now we see the two of us split side by side. And this is a good shot if you're interviewing one other person. If you're interviewing more than one person, you can do a split triple, and there would be another person down here in one of these holes, or a split quad, and we can right click And just for fun, we're going to select player 1 as one option and player 2 as our fourth source. So we have several different sources in our program module, which is over here to the left. So what I did is I added a video effect module. I selected, let's scroll back up to it, PIP fixed aspect ratio. I chose my two cameras, camera 1, which is me, camera 2, which is her, and then I adjusted the picture-in-picture based on my needs, and I was able to resize it. In order to get a four-way shot, I'll slide down to split quad, and by right-clicking, I've added a third and fourth source, and that's my player 1 module and my player 2 module, just because they've got some video in them right now, so we can see if I had other screen capture set up, we could use those as well. So that's how you do a PIP, a picture-in-picture, or a split quad, a split triple, or a split side-by-side. And that's in the video effect module, probably one of the most powerful modules in VidBlaster. And the video effect module is definitely my favorite module of all the ones, because you can stack them, you can interlock them, you can weave them in and out. There are just lots of fun things to do with them. If I were a programmer, I would probably understand better how they really work behind the scenes, but it's a lot of fun to play with. One of the other things that we did, Amnon and I, is that he got to see not my webcam, but he got to see whatever I was recording, or had we been live, whatever I was broadcasting. And that's another feature of VidBlaster that is, at least for the time being, is one that not very many types of, not many competing software programs can do, which is send that return video back. And it's something called VidBlaster's, what do they call it? The virtual video device, the VVD. And that's part of the video out module. And so I prepared a little demo on the video out module and how we sent the video out back to Skype. It's also the way you can send the video to Flash Media Live Encoder, which is actually what we're streaming right now. So let's take a look at that one. This is a demonstration of how to send a return video back to Skype. Let's say you were interviewing someone for your internet TV talk show, and you wanted them to see whatever the folks watching the stream would see, but without the 3 to 5 to 7 second delay, as if they were just watching the stream. So let's set up a shot, and I'm going to select a camera, and this is just going to be me in front of the green screen, and I'm going to maximize this screen so that we can add a module called a video out module, and I'll set that right there, and I want to select the program, because that's whatever's being demonstrated, as the source, and the VidBlaster VVD, or the VidBlaster Virtual Video Device, as the destination. And then I'll turn it on. Now, to pull up Skype, I'll go to Tools, Options. This is the latest version of Skype, by the way. Video Settings, and as you can see, I've already selected it, but my webcam is VidBlaster VVD. And so I now have whatever's in the program screen over here, the folks on the other end of the Skype call will see. And you can do it with a regular Skype call if you want to use VidBlaster's chroma key to change your background so that folks don't see you're just sitting in your bedroom. Okay, we'll save that, minimize that, and that's how to do video out. Basically, we selected a module, a video out module, and then we selected the source of the information, which is the program module, and the destination, which in this case is the VidBlaster VVD, the virtual video device. If we had selected display 1, whatever was in our program module would show up on our second display over here to the right, which is off screen. So we'll select VVD and then turn it on, and then go to Skype, and Skype will now recognize the video. You can do the same thing with Flash Media Live Encoder, by the way. If you want to stream using Flash separately, this is how you would put it into VidBlaster. Let me show you how to do that. We've already got the VVD set up, so I'm going to start flash. And flash is already set. There we go, the device over here, VidBlaster VVD. And you can see that we appear up there in both the input and the output video screens. We'll maximize that. And we've got a pretty large a pretty large resolution. So it fills the box pretty well. And we'll turn that off. So that's how you use VidBlaster's video out module for the VVD or virtual video device for return video for Skype or to stream using FMLE separately. And let's turn the sound back up as we talk about the EasyCap TV. Sorry about that, guys. What I was saying was that EasyCap TV, this particular brand from EasyCap.tv, folks, is the only one that I've been able to consistently get to work if I want to use more than one camera with more than one EasyCap at a time. When I first started out, I got lucky in buying some off of eBay, and I was able to get 3 cameras working in a laptop or a PC using whatever I got from eBay. But I also heard from other folks that they went out and tried to do the same thing and just weren't as lucky. So I would definitely recommend, if you're thinking about what I believe technically is called, or at least in slang is called a USB frame grabber, that you go to the folks at EasyCap TV. They're not a sponsor. I'm just saying this because I know them to be reliable. You can find them on eBay, you can find them on Amazon, or you can go directly to them. Something else that I've used, and in fact am using right now, is the Osprey 4-port capture card. This happens to be an Osprey 460 I'm using the 450E, which is its baby brother, and it allows 4 ports of standard definition video. I think the max it'll go is 864 by 480, which is actually what our stream is today, is 864 by 480, 25 frames a second. And each one of those little silver things has a connector that will plug into it that turns that into an RCA jack. And then the black connector on the left actually has a pigtail that plugs into that has stereo audio for 4 channels. So it's pretty good. I got lucky and found one on, actually found a pair of them on eBay for $300 a piece, and snapped up both of them, you know, sold one, kept the other. It funded my purchase. So, you know, I'm telling you all my tricks now. I'm not going to ever be able to get any good deals on eBay because you guys will have found them before I do. But it was a great deal. I've also found a very reliable source where I can buy the 460E and actually, or excuse me, buy it and resell it for $950. It's regular like $1,100 or $1,150, something like that. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I can hook you up with one of those. And there's another card that's coming down the pike that, let me see if I can load a video of it here. This one's kind of interesting. This is coming out of Taiwan. I think the company name is pronounced Yan, but my Chinese is a little broken. Y-U-A-N, and this is the SC510 HDMI card. And I am about to order one of these. Again, it's pretty pricey, but it promises HDMI 1080p on 4 different ports simultaneously. It does work with direct show, so there's a good likelihood that it's going to work with VidBlaster. I'm negotiating with the folks in Taiwan right now on shipping charges. They want $105 to ship one card one way. So we'll have to see. But if it works out, I'm going to grab a whole bunch of them and we'll figure out a way to, if anybody's interested, where I think for less than $1,000 you can get 4-port 1080p capture would be really pretty cool. So I'll keep you updated on that one as we go along. I know there's some folks, Richard Gutarski has got his hands on one and said it worked pretty well, but I haven't heard of anybody else, and it seems like, you know, whenever you're dealing with somebody from a different country, it slows the process a little bit. Don't want to let the show go by without mentioning the VidBlaster Wiki, because there is a treasure trove of information written for novices and experts there about VidBlaster and about capture cards and audio, which is not important, and all other aspects of that touch VidBlaster. The wiki's being added to every week, so if you haven't checked it out lately, you need to go and check it out again. It's like having an online encyclopedia about your favorite video streaming product. It really is cool, and I highly recommend it. And that's www.wiki.vidblaster.com. It couldn't be easier. So let's see, what do we got next here? I'm about fresh out of tips and tricks and demos. If you have got a question, I'd love if you'd post it in the forum. I'll do my best to answer it. I have a question that, as a VidBlaster reseller, I do a lot of, obviously, a lot of support for folks. And one of the things that people tend to trip over more than anything else is the whole audio part of VidBlaster, because they can't figure out how to get the audio out of VidBlaster, and the reason they can't is because it's not there to begin with. The audio from VidBlaster is 100%, this is my opinion, 100% best handled through a separate audio mixer, a mixing board of some type. I use a USB mixer, an Alesis, golly, what is it? Alesis Multimix 8 USB. Bought it off of eBay for $45, 3 years ago, and have been banging it around and knocking it, and every now and then one of the channels will go bad, and I'll stop using that channel. And one of these days I'll have to actually buy a real mixer that's brand new and try that. But I like USB because it reduces the number of cables that you have to have, and I think makes it a little more idiot-proof. And I definitely need idiot-proof. If you would like to be a guest on the show because you're doing something really cool in one of our themes of talk show, churches, or sports, I'd love to have you come on and talk about what you're doing. Let you plug your show and share a tip or a secret too, and that would be a lot of fun. I will leave you with one more piece of wisdom, and this is wisdom that I will continue to add to over the years, I'm sure. But it's a list of things not to do before you start a broadcast. Number one, you don't want to add some new software to your system, your streaming computer, an hour or two before you're about to broadcast. You just never know what kind of junk comes along with new software, especially if it has anything to do with video or audio. It can bring some codecs in with it that can just really mess things up. So my counsel would be, if you want to do something, do it 24 hours ahead of time, because that'll give you time to troubleshoot it and make sure you haven't damaged something else unintentionally. Having done that multiple times, I definitely think that's the way to go. The other is, if you start a broadcast like this, don't forget to use the restroom before you do, because otherwise it makes you a little nervous and jumpy, and you can't wait for the show to get over. And then, of course, don't forget to mute your cell phone so that it's not interrupting. And the last piece of advice I would give, and this will be a lifesaver to somebody sooner or later, is go ahead on your streaming PC, and even if you just do it before you start streaming it and then change it back afterwards, go ahead and disable window updates, because you just never know when you're going to get something update that Windows needs to update, and again it throws things off. Or worse yet, it decides to update right in the middle of your broadcast. I think particularly Tuesdays are Microsoft's drop day, first Tuesday of the month or something like that. So we'll have some more information on a show in the future of how to optimize your PC and other things to disable and enable that will kind of hopefully make your PC bulletproof for so far as streaming is concerned. Let's see if we've got some questions here. Let's see. Using a multi-boot system is the best way to go so that you ever have it clear. So, well, I agree with that. I just don't know how to do a multi-boot system. That's indeed. And Amnon is saying Windows updates, virus, malware, scanners. Oh, yeah, that's one thing that I will add, and I'm sure anybody out there that's an experienced computer user will say you're nuts, which is I don't use any virus protection software on any of my PCs anymore. I get an occasional virus once every 18, 24 months. But I think the trade-off in terms of not having my PC slowed down by something that has to look at everything before it allows anything to happen. It's like having your mother-in-law there. No offense to mother-in-laws if any of you are one. But yeah, and on my streaming PC, the only time I'm on the internet is when I'm streaming. So I'm willing to risk that because I like the performance boost that I get from not having it. So Amnon, I really appreciate you bringing that up. Next week, our theme is going to be events, specifically church services. And I hope my guest will be Alan Bunt. Haven't confirmed it yet with him, but he's been doing streaming church services for several years, has got it down to an art. And I think this applies not just for church, but for any kind of event, a public forum, a school function, anything that's kind of out in the public. There's a lot of great information on that one. So be sure and tune in next Tuesday when we talk about events and church services. If you missed part of this show, as soon as I have a chance to clear the decks here, I'm going to rebroadcast it on Bamboozer, that VidBlaster Guy on Bamboozer. Excuse me, that VidBlaster, yeah, that VidBlaster Guy. Excuse me, VidBlaster. I'm getting tongue-tied here. That VidBlaster Guy on Bamboozer. We'll rebroadcast it again there, and then it'll be available in their archives after that. So really appreciate you tuning in. It's been my pleasure to bring this information to you today. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thanks.